World College Radio Day is this Friday, October 1st. And college radio is the place where many people get started in career. And right now, I am joined by one of those people. Glenn Schuck is a 1010 wins reporter and professional in residence at WMSC. Thank you for coming on the show, Glenn. Can you tell us about how you got started with college radio and what you did at your former station?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. I mean, college radio is a great day, and it's fun to celebrate college radio. And congratulations to what you guys are doing too. It's awesome.
Well,
I
your
went to
work
high
helps us.
I went to high school in Ramsey in Bergen County.
Mhm.
Grew up there, and I always wanted to do something on the radio. I was just always, I'm a lot older than you, obviously, but I was always. This is before all the different internets and things came out, but I was always fascinated by the radio, right? So I wanted to stay nearby, and I ended up going to Seton Hall, which has, like MSC has a great, tradition in radio going back a long time. So was very active doing sports and doing news director and then station manager my senior year. So I mean, I was, you probably can relate to this. I lived at the radio station. I made so many friends there. It was really, I kind of decided to make it my life. And I was, the drill. I was there almost every day, all crazy hours. And I loved it. And,
Yeah.
So it's just like, it was what I wanted to do. And the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it. So, I mean, I owe so much to college radio in terms of the people I met. We're in New York City area, you get internships and things. And it really, without college radio, I wouldn't be doing anywhere near what I'm doing now. So I'm really grateful that I did it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that people like staying here all hours and all
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff like that, because the week leading up to this, people have been here to 2 or 3 in the morning working on stuff for college radio day, and people are just here late as it is. And it's funny because I have a show at midnight to 3 a.m. and people are like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "I love it. I get it." And you get that. That's really
Totally.
cool.
Yes. I mean, when you get it, right, you still, every time you probably come in there and you're jazzed up to get on the radio, right? And you're
Yeah.
not really even thinking about the time, means you love it. And that's great.
Yeah.
Good job.
How did your college radio experience lead into professional radio?
It just really solidified the fact that I wanted to do it for a living. I mean, it's hard. I wanted to do news because this is what I do now, but coming out of college, it really wasn't the news. I went to college in the 80s. So, I mean, it wasn't the news opportunities that there were now. I ended up being a jock, a DJ on the air at a number of stations at the Shore, then in Philadelphia. Then I went to a station called WAAF in Boston, which actually just signed off. It was a 50-year long run as one of the best rock stations in the country. And this was, getting to meet Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and stuff like that. It was like the best job ever. I did that for 4 or 5 years. And then around, 10 years actually out of college is when I finally got back into news because more news opportunities started to develop. But, and I've been at 1010 wins for over 20 years now. So, but, it's like, I kind of think I had 2 lives. I had like the college radio and then this great rock and roll thing that I did for a while. And then I completely shifted into news and still have a real passion for music though, obviously. So
Yeah. So I want to mention that you're kind of an exception to the rule in that many people who are part of college radio don't end up professionally on air
Yep.
in any capacity. How does that path look to get there, and how difficult is that to reach? And if someone doesn't even have the skills, doesn't, let me rephrase that, doesn't have the career to get there,
right.
How can the skills in college radio help them just anyway?
And it's a great question. I'm so glad you brought it up because I had a little note here to myself to mention it. Most of the people that I went to Seton Hall with, I loved it at the time, didn't end up doing this for a career. They're record executives, or they're my roommate is a very successful attorney, for example.
Oh.
He left Seton Hall, he went to Rutgers Law, but he learned a skill like for public speaking and things like that, being on the radio. It gave him confidence to be in front of a judge, for example. And he was a very shy guy, but it transformed him into this, very dynamic. And, he learned writing. Just being on the radio gave him some confidence in terms of, public speaking. And it had nothing to, so he ended up in a career, had nothing to do with radio or television or media. So, it'll give you that public speaking, that ability to put those nerves aside a little bit, knowing you're clicking the mic on and going on the air. It just gives you, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, it just seems to really help.
Yeah. And how did your path to becoming a radio professional look? How did your time in college help you get there? And what did you have to do to even get to where you are now?
Internships was a big thing.
Internships.
Yeah,
I hear that all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Internships. I mean, and we're in the shadow of New York City, right? And networking, this is why I enjoy, being with you guys and the young people. You keep me energized, and it's I like trying to give back to the college students and get you guys in the door somewhere and kind of let you run with it. I mean, I can count 3 or 4 people in my career over, I'm almost 35 years doing radio. I mean, 3 or 4 people that really, if I didn't have them help me, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I enjoyed the meeting people, but the internships, I mean, when Z100 signed on in the 1980s, I was one of the first interns there.
Wow.
WNEW was a rock station back then. I never interned at a news station. It was all into the music and stuff, but Scott Shannon, who's on CBS FM now, I interned for him when he was at Z100. So internships, I mean, you get to be in the professional environment in New York City. I mean, the #1 market in the world, and it's so awesome.
I'm kind of curious about this music news, like the two different lives you said.
Yep.
Because how do you make a change from something that dramatic? And you said yourself that you didn't really have news internships. How'd you go from working in music to now having more of a career in news?
Yeah, way more a career, and what it really was again was that networking. I mean, I was the rock and roll stuff for about 10 years, and I was at WAF in Boston, and then I had a morning show in California at a brand new station. And I was, I think, 30 years old, and the format flipped on a Friday afternoon. It turned to like classical music, and we all got fired.
Oh,
So this was here I am in California. I'm single still. I'm like, what do I do? And just by chance, a guy that I knew from college was starting a radio network at CNBC, the business station. And he said, hey, I know you've never done business news, but I know you work hard. Why don't you come back? I came back to Fort Lee in Jersey, did that for 4 years, cut my hair that used to be like halfway down my back. They like, you got to cut your hair. I did that. And I never looked back, the CNBC opportunity, 3 or 4 years, and then it led me to Wins. I mean, so, and to be honest, during my time at Wins, I still had dabbled in the music thing. I was on WDHA a couple times, just like a guest DJ. I still like having that music contact. I'm going to see Metallica in San Francisco in December,
nice.
Just to keep those music contacts going. Yeah, so that was kind of like it forced me to make a decision. What do I do now? I got laid off from a place. I'm like, do I go into a different direction? And I was very lucky to have someone there to guide me into a new direction.
That's
Lucky.
awesome.
It was lucky.
And,
A lot of it was luck.
yeah, and a lot of it really, I'm sure, was experimenting. And college radio is a place to be very experimental because,
Yep.
after all, it's an educational environment. It's college. How's this experimentation help students? But I want to ask, at what point is it too much? Like, when's it too far?
Well, I mean, you guys are all very passionate there. I watch you, and I kind of think of myself when I was your age. You're spending so much time there, and you have so many ideas and energy, and you have a lot going on in your lives, right? And then to put on top of that, you guys have had to deal with a pandemic. I mean, so kudos to you guys for getting through this. I mean, we never had to deal with something like that. So you're dealing with pandemic and school and family and maybe boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, jobs. I mean, you got so much on your plate, right? I mean, so just got to keep it balanced, and try not to burn yourself out. But I always found too with the college scene, you either were into it or not. There were some people who were on my college station at Seton Hall that I could tell they were there to get it on their resume, but they really didn't want to be there. And it's like,
Yeah.
that kind of weeds itself out. The people who want to be there will rise to the top. And you know what? Just have fun like you guys do. I mean, you're getting so much out of it. You have a great, leader there with Annabella. She's, a great mentor for you guys. And, you're taking the ball and you're running with it.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about that community that's fostered when you're a part of college radio, and I've seen it with so many different people. And how do you think it helps people with their relationships with other people, even platonic, especially platonic?
I've seen transformation of people. I know it sounds corny. I've seen people come into college radio that had, by the time they left, their personality had changed, their approach to life had changed, their interaction with people had changed, just some confidence, more, kind of their friends changed, everything. I mean, they like transformed, and college radio brings you that. I mean, I think it's such a great experience and so much fun. Going to, concerts or events, or you're doing sports for the station, or, things like that. There's just so many different ways that you can learn things. And to me, there's no other better experience than a college radio career. I just think you get so much out of it.
Yeah, and I'm one of those cases. I used to be afraid to talk to like anybody and
Yeah.
have so much anxiety about it, but being with this, I've noticed that it's helped me a lot with that fear. And for everybody who's kind of like stuck in their own shell and
Yep.
like I was afraid to say a word to anybody,
There
what do
was
you
a
have to
recent,
say?
I'm not going to name his name, but there's a recent station manager at WSOU at Seton Hall that came in and was, just completely like, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm a nervous wreck. Uh, my friend wants me to do this. I dread it. He became station manager years later, and has some wonderful professional opportunities now. And it's like, again, I saw like it was amazing to watch his transformation in terms of his confidence and just kind of figuring out what he wanted to do. And college radio helped him do that.
Yeah,
And he is staying in the industry, doing some radio stuff, but it was fun to watch him go from, I'm not sure, very nervous, to taking that energy and turning it into a lot of positive things.
yeah. So what do you have to say to people who are kind of stuck in that shell and are thinking about college radio as something to help them?
What I always say too, and it's okay to be in your shell, right? I think it is. There's a lot of pressure
Yeah,
in the world, right? Like everyone has to
definitely
be out
is.
of their shell. It's okay. I mean, if you're
Yeah,
not everyone's going to be the most talkative, not everyone's, but I think if you surround yourself with a lot of people who have similar interests, and you kind of find your way, right? I mean, I think you do. If I played you some of my stuff from WSOU, it's like the worst thing ever. I mean, so when I listen to you guys, how good you are in the air, I play my stuff back from my first newscast. It was like the worst thing ever.
like you said,
But
we have a great leader.
you do, but it's like, I listen to it now. I'm like, oh God, I'm like, why did they even let me on the air? It was so bad. But I always say too to people that I don't know if you do that when you still go on the air. I still even now get that little butterfly in my stomach when I turn on the mic to go
A
on,
little bit.
right? And that means you're into it, right? It means you're excited. I always say to my daughter too, because she's 13, and she said, Dad, I get nervous sometimes. I said, nervous is not bad. It means you care, right? I mean, you have some. If you didn't have any pit in your stomach, it means you probably don't care. So you want to do a good job. You want to do the best you can, and you guys do. I mean, you're one of the. I'm so happy to be affiliated with you guys, and it's not just the awards that you win. You're setting example for other young people about how to make the most of the college radio experience, and you guys really do a good job with that.
Thank you. What do you think the importance of, we're talking about College Radio Day now. What do you think the importance of stations around the world coming together for World College Radio Day is? Like, how does that unity affect it? How do you think that's important?
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I didn't even realize at first when this first started. I mean, how many people are involved in this and the type of
Over
effort.
670 stations
I
this
mean,
year.
that's unbelievable. I mean, especially now in the age that we're all so busy, right? Everyone, but this is such a unifying thing, and there's not much unity in the world anymore, right? So
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of divisiveness, but you guys are on the same page with the same energy, and you'll learn a lot from each other, and it's amazing. I mean, I didn't even know the number until you told me. I knew it was hundreds. I mean, that's incredible. Sure, and there's so many stories that people will have to talk about college radio, and it's just fantastic. And I hope it goes on for many years to go.
Yeah, I hope so too. What do you think about the getting people to see college radio? Because it's inevitable. People are listening less and less to radio as it is, and
Mhm.
college especially because they typically don't have as much of a wider range, like WMSC, for example. We're only 1 watt. We don't get that far of a distance. How can we get more people to invest their time into college radio?
Well, I mean, you guys do a good job. When you do your morning buzz and you have it on YouTube and things like that. I have to say, here I am. It's not like I'm always just like patting you guys on the back, but it's true. I mean, there's not many stations that are doing that. I think they want to. But again, you have a great facility. You have great leadership there. You have students that come there and really have the support for it. And I'm sure there's other college stations around the country who would like to meet you. People hear about Jersey and New York, and it is. I mean, I think it's pretty cool living here, and we live in the media capital of the world. We have so many opportunities for things, um, and in terms of music or sports teams and all that stuff. We just live in a great place for that. So, um, yeah, I mean, it you just again, I'm coming back to the number of stations that are involved in this. I'm sure many of them would love to be in your studio, seeing it, checking it out.
Oh, yeah.
Being there, seeing. I mean, the facility at Montclair State is unreal. How good it is. So, it's a great time for you guys.
Yeah. And this is the big question.
Yep.
How do you think your life would be different if you hadn't done college radio?
Wow. Yeah.
It's the big
Dramatically.
one. I got to leave for last too.
No, that's a good question. You know what? My dad was a commercial real estate guy, pretty successful in northern New Jersey. I'd probably be in real estate. And you know what? I probably have made more money.
But would you
But
be as happy?
but here's the thing, and I'm gonna leave you with this too, because I tell this all the time. My older brother and my younger brother are both doctors. Okay. And my parents would always say to me, wait a minute, we got a doctor to be, and you are gonna be on the radio, right? It drive my father nuts, and my mom initially. But when I got into college radio, my mom's like, well, maybe we got something here. And then they'd listen to me, and now obviously they're very proud of what I've done. Not only that I stuck to doing it, but that I've achieved a lot of what I wanted to achieve. So my message there is, again, to, you'll see other people maybe doing things that are maybe financially more beneficial, whatever, but I have loved radio since I was like a teenager. So, 40 years, whatever it's been that I'm doing it. I mean, I'm so glad that I make that decision. Um, there were times that I almost got out of it, because again, money does play a role. Relationships are impacted, all that kind of stuff. But I'm so glad and so lucky to still be doing it right now. And I wouldn't have without college radio. I mean, definitely not.
Yeah. Thank you, Glenn, so much again for sitting down with me. I thought this was great, and I'm looking forward to College Radio Day just as much as you are and everybody else is. It's really going to be a huge day, and your contribution to that, it's evident.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And keep up your good work, everybody. And happy College Radio Day to everybody. It's a day to celebrate for sure.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. And now right back to the show with Isaiah and Crystal.